Tēnā koutou katoa, no mai haramai. Hello and a warm welcome to this webinar on the Howick Draft Local Board Plan. This session is to tell you a bit about the draft plan and encourage the wider Howick, Pakuranga and Botany communities to have a say and to let the local board know if it has the right things in the draft local board plan. So these local board plans, they're very influential plans and they're required by legislation and they draw on community priorities. Howick Local Board's draft plan will set the direction and investment in local council facilities, services, projects and programs for the next 3 years. My name is Carol Mackenzie Rex and I'm a council staff member. My title's Relationship Manager and I support the Howick Local Board and its locally elected role. So I'll be acting as the facilitator for this session. So who's online with us from the Howick Local Board? Let's do some introductions now. I'd firstly like to go to the chair of the Howick Local Board, Adele White. Over to you, Adele.
Kia ora tātou katoa. Thank you for joining us this evening. This is a really important time for us and we're really pleased that you want to be part of it.
Thank you, Adele. Now we'll go to our Deputy Chair of the Howick Local Board, John Spiller.
Good evening and welcome everybody. We've got some really exciting things we'd like to achieve in the next
All right, John's just having a few technical difficulties. We'll come back to John. We'll go to Local Board member Katrina Bungard to introduce yourself.
Well, kia ora koutou katoa. Welcome everybody to the webinar tonight. It's really great to be speaking with you guys and to see you online. We're really excited about our local board plan and would love to hear your feedback.
Thank you, Member Bungard. And over to you now, Member David Collings.
Thank you very much, Carol. My name is David Collings and I represent the Pakuranga subdivision. It's so very, very welcome, Sunshine Valley Pakuranga. Welcome to all of you. Thanks for joining us.
And now we can go to our Deputy Chair, John Spiller.
Yes, welcome everybody. Sorry for the little hiccup. Great to have you along. We've got some exciting things we'd like to achieve in the next 2 to 3 years for the community and love to hear your feedback tonight. Thanks very much.
Thank you, Deputy Chair. And over to you now, Member Bruce Kendall.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Bruce Kendall, Howick Local Board, Pakuranga subdivision. First year on, lots to learn, and certainly interesting times. And very much like to hear back from the community as what they'd like for the draft Howick Local Board plan. So look forward to hearing back from you later on this evening. Thank you.
And Member Mike Turinsky.
Kia ora everyone, Mike Turinsky here, elected member for the Howick Local Board in the Botany subdivision. Just a real privilege to be here tonight and to be able to get feedback. We really want to hear the voice of the community. We're here to represent the community and we take that very seriously. And thank you very much for those who are participating and really look forward to the rest of the evening. Kia ora.
Thank you. And over to you, Member Bob Witchman.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Bob Witchman here. I'm from the Botany Ward of the Howick Local Board. Been a councillor and a local board member for 26 years, and I'm looking forward to hearing your ideas, your questions, and hoping we can steer things to suit the whole community, and looking forward to it. Thank you.
And hoping now we can hear from our member, Peter Young.
Hi everyone, I'm Peter Yang. I'm the local board member. Elected area is Botany, and then now we would like to see which was your priority and talking about the Howick Local Plan for the next 3 years. Thank you.
Thank you for those introductions, members. So shortly, we're going to present the draft Howick Local Board Plan in summary. Ian Milne, who has worked alongside the local board while the board has drafted the plan, will introduce some aspects of it. Our Howick Local Board members will then describe the key aspects of the draft plan, what's important to them, and what they'd like to hear from you about. You can ask questions through this webinar by typing them into us. We'll try and answer those questions at the end of the presentation. If a question isn't directly related to the draft plan though, we might need to take a while to find the answer for you, and we will post the answers to those questions on the Engagement HQ website a bit later on. So we'll be recording this webinar, and it can be viewed and it can be shared later on. And don't forget, the key purpose of this webinar is to encourage community feedback. Really want to hear your feedback. You can go online on the website, which is akhaveyourSay.nz/Lovelocal. You can go on the Howick Local Board Facebook page, and you can use the hashtag Lovelocal to put in a short submission to the draft plan. It's a very easy way to do it. You can also go into your library or service centre and get a hard copy of the feedback form and use that to input. Now I'd like to hand over to Ian Milne, who is going to give a little bit of a taster on the draft local board plan. So over to you, Ian, and please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Carol. Good evening, everybody. My name's Ian Milnes, as Carol said. I'm the Senior Advisor for the Howick Local Board, and I've been involved in writing both this plan and the previous plan. Just a quick note, this is Howick Local Board's third local board plan. This one builds on the previous plan and responds to feedback which has been received by the local board during some informal engagement earlier in the year. As we all know, a lot has changed since then, and while the plan acknowledges and responds to the impacts of the COVID-19 pandemic, these effects are likely to be felt for some time. If we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, so the local board plan sets the direction and mandate for what the local board will deliver and advocate for on behalf of the community through its work programs over the next 3 years. It guides the local board decisions on local activities, projects and facilities, input into Auckland Council's regional strategies and plans, how local boards will work with other agencies, including community groups, central government and CCOs that play key roles in the Howick Local Board area, and how the funding and how it's involved in the funding and investment decisions. The plan itself comprises aspirational outcomes, objectives the board wants to achieve, and some of the key initiatives the board will carry out to achieve those objectives. The plan doesn't operate in isolation. There are connections right through it to other strategic plans, such as the Auckland Plan 2050, local plans and policies, and it informs Council's long-term plan and the annual plan. All of this means or shows why it's extremely important for the local board to have your feedback before it finally adopts the plan for 2021 to 2024. Can I have the next slide, please? Now, this is quite a busy slide, so I will take some time on this one so people can have a bit of a read of it. There are a number of opportunities threaded throughout this draft plan, and I'll just use a quick example of those. That would be the current renewed interest in local tourism that has the potential to increase visitors to the Howick Local Board area to experience the various natural, scenic, historic and cultural highlights that are on offer. Increased visitor numbers will help to rebuild the local economy, and a number of key initiatives support this, including those around building and maintaining the area's community and transport infrastructure. I'll just pause for a few more seconds so we can just have a look at some of those opportunities on this slide. And again, it is quite a busy slide. Okay, hopefully that will be sufficient for people. And if we can move to the next slide, please. And again, this is also a very busy slide. These are some of the key challenges that the plan identifies that are facing the community. And again, one of the key ones there is obviously the economic impact of COVID-19, climate change and the environmental degradation, transport into, around and out of the area, and the impact of growth on the area. Many of the objectives and key initiatives that are proposed in the draft local plan are targeted towards these. Now, again, this is quite a busy slide, so maybe I'll just read out a few of our key challenges. So some of them communities with differing but equally valid priorities. So the different priorities between older established areas and the new subdivisions. Key challenges include inadequate stormwater infrastructure in older areas, increased density of housing allowed under the unitary plan. Other key challenges, for example, new suburbs in the south of the board area, having limited access to public transport. And then one of the last ones there, one of the key challenges, effectively communicating with our diverse community. So I'll just pause for a moment there, just to allow you to look at those key challenges in a little bit more detail. Okay, if we can move on to the next slide, please. So, the draft Howick Local Board outcomes. They are that people in our communities feel safe, engaged and connected. Number 2 is well-planned public spaces that support active, healthy and sustainable lifestyles. The third outcome is heritage, local arts and cultural diversity are valued. Number 4 is our natural environment is protected, restored and enhanced. Number 5, a prosperous local economy supporting business growth and opportunity. And number 6, effective and accessible transport choices. And I'll just reiterate, these are aspirational outcomes contained within the plan, under which there are objectives the boards want to achieve, and some of the key initiatives that we will carry out to achieve them. Now I'll pass back to Carol so she can introduce the next speakers who will look at these outcomes in more detail.
Thank you very much, Ian. That's a great overview of the draft Howick Local Board plan. And now we have our Howick Local Board members who are going to tell us a little bit more about each of those outcomes. We're going to start with outcome 1 and member Mike Turinsky.
Thank you, Carol. So outcome number 1, of course, is the people in our communities feel safe, engaged and connected, and the subline of that is that we hope that people are proud to live in the area and actively participate to make it a wonderful and safe place to live, work and play. Now, because of the high diversity of the Howick Local Board area, we recognize that there are many different desired outcomes based on your particular background, experience, or point of view. Now, that said, it's clear that there's a strong desire across the area to be connected with each other amongst our diversity. Now, the community, of course, is made up of its members, right? So the Auckland Council has a value of empowering community, and outcome number 1 was really all about that, empowering the community. So we seek to see the community-led projects from all the way from cultural and seasonal events to identifying ways to fulfill various needs in our community. We really want to empower the community-led projects in that way. And it's clear that there is a need for enhanced community connection, especially in the Flatbush area, and we hope to do our part to address that. And of course, we also recognize it's important to engage with Māori and local iwi, and for that to inform some of our decisions. And of course, we really do want to make sure that youth have a voice in our community. So I really want to encourage for you to have your say, to make sure that your point of view is made clear. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Turinsky. And it's great to hear from our local board members and all the passion and enthusiasm for the draft plan. And I'd like to hand over now to Deputy Chair Spiller to talk about outcome 2 of the plan.
Thank you, Carol. Yeah, so this outcome is something very close to my heart as a keen outdoor person, tramper and occasional walker. So we're looking at things like parks, walkways, sports facilities and playgrounds to support that outcome. And these are very important for people for their not only their physical health but their mental well-being. Playgrounds, we know that there's quite a number of these that are in need of repairs and we're working towards that. We don't like to see these closed any more than anybody else. So that is high on our target list of things to get remedied. We have a major emerging community in Flatbush and Botany, and as part of that we're hoping to see developed a fairly significant aquatic centre over the next several years. It's a large project and it's not going to happen overnight, but once it is open it's going to cater for a large number of user groups. Not only will there be a swimming pool, of course, there'll be a splash pool for children, we hope, some play areas, some hardcourt areas for some ball sports, a gym, cafe and all the sort of things you'd expect to go with a fairly major recreational centre. Another thing that's been high on our wish list, and we've been working with several sporting codes on this, is a multi-code sporting facility at Lloyd Elsmore Park. There's untapped demand from several codes in Howick, particularly gymnastics, the bowls, tennis and BMX, and these days it's very important to get bang for ratepayers buck and try and incorporate more than one sport or code into a facility, so that's a good spend of ratepayers' money. We've also been looking at potential for some dedicated youth space within the community. Youth are important to us and we work closely with the Howick Youth Council, and this has had a little bit of exploration but has been interrupted by the COVID lockdown, but this is something still high in our mind, and we hope to get something for youth in the not too distant future. Also in the Flatbush area we have Barry Curtis Park, a very large park which is still under development, but one or two things that we're conscious of the need to provide is a performance stage, more shelter and some additional lighting. So those are the sorts of things we hope to provide to the community to address the outcome 2, and hope to hear from you, and please have your say on the Howick Local Board plan. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair. And yes, we're encouraging everybody to have their say on this plan. Now I'd like to ask Member Katrina Bungard to talk about outcome 3 of the draft plan.
Well, thank you, Carol. Yes, our outcome 3, heritage, arts and culture, are valued, and here at the local board we certainly do value our arts and culture, and we like to celebrate this in a variety of ways. So we have one of the most diverse populations within the Howick Local Board area. Our community is made up of close to 49 to 50% variety of Asian communities, and so we certainly have a very diverse array of people here in Howick, and we like to celebrate that. So the way that we do that is we provide funding for a range of events. One of the main events that we do host is a Moon Festival, which we want to make more of a multicultural event as well in the future. We've also done movies in the parks for the last number of years, since the inception of the Auckland Council, and so we really enjoy getting families together to help celebrate our community, and that's always a really very well attended event, one of the largest events in Auckland for movies in the park. We also have a range of desires within our ethnic communities, particularly looking at public gardens. We'd like to do a more ethnic garden, perhaps in Barracudas Park. So we'd like to hear what you have to say around that. We'd also like to incorporate our Māori references into design of public spaces and signage as well. So we're really looking forward to hearing more feedback around that. So while it is important for us to host events, we also encourage our community to come to us to provide any ideas that you have for events or that you'd like to host, and we can look at funding those through our events funding and our local board grants rounds as well. So if you could feed us back what you'd like to see us incorporate with, we'd love to empower our community to ensure that you come to us with the events that you'd like to see, and we'd encourage you to do that and look forward to hearing from you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Bungard. Now we're going to talk about the natural environment and outcome 4. So I'd really like to invite one of the newest local board members, Member Kendall, Bruce Kendall, to have a talk to you about that.
Yes, good evening. Yes, I'm very passionate about the natural environment. I'm very happy to see that the Howick Local Board's Pest-Free Howick campaign has gone very well. We had the men's shed make a whole lot of traps that were all individually numbered and delivered to the community, so that at some stage we could later on recycle them. And of course, those people that have caught rats or whatever can log in and have it turn up on a map, so that people can see how many rats are being caught wherever, and at some stage later, because they are all numbered, we could potentially get those traps back and reallocate them to another area that's required. And of course, I'm very excited about the idea of creating the Bucklands Beach Peninsula to be pest-free, considering it's a gateway for pests to get towards Browns Island and the other islands in the Gulf. Very passionate about protecting our clean waterways, and I'm a member of the Tamaki Estuary Environmental Forum, so I'm very interested to see what all the different catchments are doing that are feeding into the Tamaki River. And of course, I'm very interested in what's happening over in Cockle Bay and the various different freshwater feeds into the ocean. And of course, that leads on to the Hauraki Maritime Golf Park and various different things to do with the outer ocean. So it's all connected. Also, I'm very interested in trying to advocate for the regional funding to address the impact of climate change on the coastline, and measures to prevent erosion around our coastline as well. We've got lots of cliffs and lots of difficult places to try and keep control of. Also, it's very exciting to see the development potential at Greenmount landfill and turn that into an urban forest with native trees, etc., and potentially a park later on. And we're also very interested in supporting community-led initiatives to try and help protect and enhance the environment. We've got a lot of tree planting going on around the local board, lots of trees going on, native trees, and it's really exciting to protect the environment. And if anybody's got anything else to mention that they'd like to do, make sure you have your say on the local board plan on the website or tonight. And hope to hear from you later. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Member Kendall. Now our Howick Local Board Chair is going to talk about the next 2 outcomes in the Howick draft Howick Local Board Plan. So introducing you again, Chair Adele White.
Kia ora, Carol. Thank you for that. I'm going to talk about outcome 5, a prosperous local economy supporting business growth and opportunity. Despite having limitations on what we're able to do, our local board certainly supports our local community. Celebrating and promoting our beautiful and historic area is important. We provide funding for our unique Howick Historical Village and have representation on the East Auckland Tourism Group. Bringing tourism to Howick will, of course, support our local businesses. We work closely with our 2 local business associations in Howick and East Tamaki, and work with other major shopping centres when planning events. The Howick Local Board acknowledges our youth as future leaders. Our Howick Youth Council are a dynamic team of young people who have identified the need to do more to assist young people to learn about career options. We want to do this, and furthermore, we would like to get all youth into employment. Let us know what you think about that. Our local board supports entrepreneurship. We have supported the Young Enterprise Scheme working alongside strategic partner ATEED, supporting the delivery of a program called YES. YES is a practical year-long program for Year 12 and 13 students, and through this program, students develop creative ideas into actual businesses, complete with real products and services, and experience real profit and loss. And now moving on to outcome 6. So outcome 6 is the effective and accessible transport choices. And of course, one of the most important things for the people of Howick is transport. The local board has an advocacy role to our governing body and Auckland Transport, who then advocate to central government to fund the bigger multi-million projects for our area. One of these is the AMITI, which stands for Auckland Manukau Eastern Transport Initiative, which the local board is most excited about. This is progressing nicely, with construction very visible on the Panmure to Pakuranga part of the Eastern Busway, and this will soon continue down Te Rauko Drive to Botany Town Centre. This project will allow public transport users to have quicker journeys. The busway is supported by our walking and cycling network plan. Already we have a number of shared pathways which stretch right across the Howick ward. These are used both recreationally and by commuters to access local workplaces and links to public transport. We're really keen to add to these. We wonder if you are too. In the next 3 years, the local board will advocate on these local projects: the widening of Smales Allens Road intersection and the Stankin Road connector in Flatbush, a feeder bus service, and more bus shelters in the Flatbush area. Our local board is prepared, our local plan is prepared from feedback from the community, and this contributes to creating our work program for the next 3 years. You have heard from all our board members on each of the 6 outcome areas of the draft plan, so now it's important for us to know if we've got it right. We need to know from you, our community, whether we've missed anything. The local board does control a small amount of funding for local transport projects, and this is called the Local Board Transport Capital Fund. We are considering these projects for our Transport Capital Fund and would like your feedback on these. The first is the road safety improvements on Bucklands Beach. Secondly, the Howick Village Centre Plan. And thirdly, additions to the Howick walking and cycling network. If you have other ideas for possible projects, we would like to hear those ideas.
Thank you very much, Chair Adele White. And just reinforcing what Adele has had to say about the importance of submitting. So these local board plans, these draft local board plans, are a legislative requirement of local boards. And actually, in order to fulfill those requirements, they need to ensure that they draw on community priorities and preferences. So don't go thinking for a moment that your submission, your input is not going to matter. It's absolutely vital to get the plan right. So please do submit. Now we're going to have a look at some key questions that you can submit on, and I'm going to ask Member Collings to talk about one of those.
Thank you very much, Carol. And thanks for, if you're still with us, we'll get on to some questions from you very shortly. But first of all, we've got a couple of questions that are featured in the plan. The first question is in regards to the recovery from COVID-19. Our draft plan was developed prior to the COVID-19 pandemic, and while local boards have a limited role to play in health and economic development, we want to help bring our community together to support each other, grow stronger and prosper through these difficult times. We provide support for local business associations and community organisations and have adjusted our quick response grants criteria in response to COVID-19. Do you think our plan will help our community and local businesses recover from the impact of COVID-19? And is there anything else you think you could think about or think would help our community and local businesses recover? Obviously, through this time, we've learned we've been very isolated. In fact, the country's shut down, and one of the things it's taught us is actually to be self-sufficient and do everything local. Certainly a lot of sentiment around shopping locally and so forth. So let us know how we can help. On to the second question, and that's around prioritising our key initiatives. We, the Council and Local Board, may have less funding to progress some of the initiatives we have included in our draft plan due to the COVID-19, which I've previously mentioned. And you've heard of some of the things through the various outcomes of the plan, but we'd like to hear particularly which 3 initiatives do you think are the most important for us to focus on? You can choose up to 3. Improvements to play facilities and parks, community events that bring people together, programs and activities that support youth, local initiatives that reduce and divert waste, public gardens developed with ethnic communities, measures to prevent erosion of sand from Howick beaches, development of the former Greenmount landfill into an urban forest, and also multi-club and code sporting facility at Lloyd Elsmore Park. As I say, you've heard of many of those projects and initiatives from the members that you've heard that have been talking about the outcomes. So we'd really like to hear from you, and please have your say on our local board plan.
Thank you so much, Member Collings. Look, now is our time that we can actually take some questions. So keep those questions coming through. And we have a question in front of us, and I'm going to invite Member Katrina Bungard to answer this question. And the question is, what's in the draft Howick Local Board plan to make sure we protect our history and our heritage?
Thanks, Carol. Well, that's a brilliant question. We actually have one of our outcomes specifically referring to heritage. We have a Howick Heritage Plan that we've been developing, over the past few terms, and one of our key initiatives will be to deliver actions from that plan. To hear from people what they think is most important in terms of protecting and promoting our heritage, and we also intend to continue to provide funding for projects around heritage, but also for our key key sites such as the Howick Historical Village. So our Howick Historical Village also promotes tourism in the area, which is also very important. So we have great history, wonderful beaches, great parks. One of the things we do intend to do is support East Auckland tourism to implement actions from the Howick Tourism Plan. So make sure that you do have your say, and we'd love to hear from you.
Thanks so much, Member Bungard. We've got another question. We've got another question in front of us, and I guess it's to do with the fact that we're still in a pandemic situation, even though we're not in lockdown. So the question is along the lines of, why does the board want to support tourism, and how is that relevant? And I'm going to ask our local board chair, Adele White, to see if she can have a go at answering that one.
Thank you, Carol. Well, I sort of alluded to that really when I talked about outcome 5. You know, the importance of promoting tourism is essential to our local businesses. Firstly, of course, we want to celebrate beautiful Howick, and we've got so many wonderful things to experience. So we have our coast, our wonderful beaches. We have the historic side of Howick, the beautiful All Saints Church, the historical village, some of the other gorgeous old buildings in Howick. And of course, you can do the historic walk up through Howick, which is, teaches us all about the fencible times of Howick. We have the wonderful Fogwanshan Temple, which just shows a little bit of our cultural identity. We have great shopping centres. We have loads to do in the area, and all of that brings people to Howick. Those people generally like to eat and drink, so of course they go to our great selection of cafes and restaurants, and everybody, it's a win-win situation for all. So tourism is very important to Howick.
Thank you very much, Chair White. There's another one on the floor, a question here about what's happening with the Tamaki River Forum. I didn't see it in the plan from one of the people that's asking us questions, and I'm wondering whether Member Bruce Kendall, you might like to respond to that question.
Yes, thank you. Okay, we're on. Can you hear me? Thank you. Yes, the Howick Local Board do currently supply support to the Tamaki Estuary Environmental Forum, so that it can continue doing what it needs to be able to do. And the Tamaki Estuary Environmental Forum is, of course, servicing a need for all the boards in the area to be able to have an overview of what's going on in the Tamaki River. So it is part of the one of the outcomes that we've got, which we want to have healthy streams, and the Tamaki Estuary Environmental Forum recommended recently that we have some stream monitoring devices to make sure that the water is clear and clean, and if there is a problem that we can get in contact with Watercare very quickly and try to sort it out. So it is one of the things that we do. It's not mentioned specifically in the plan, but John Spiller and myself do attend the Tamaki Estuary Environmental Forum meetings, and so we're very interested in making sure that it's being looked after. So make sure that you've got any questions specifically on things to do with clean waters and coastal erosion, and looking after our beaches to make sure they're great places to swim, and etc. Make sure you get in contact with us and have your say on the Howick Local Board plan.
Thank you very much, Member Kendall. We've got time for one more question in this session. And the question that I see in front of us is, what are you doing about the state of our beaches, Howick Local Board? And I'm wondering whether we could possibly ask our Deputy Chair, John Spiller, to see if he can respond to that question.
Yeah, thank you, Carol. Yeah, well, this is certainly something that's very important to people of the Howick Ward. We've got, I think, possibly the longest coastline of all the council wards in Auckland, and the problem was drawn to our attention very significantly in January 2 years ago, when we had some incredible weather events. Heavy rain, high tides and strong northeasterly winds combined to do quite significant damage to a lot of our coastline. So one of our objectives is to protect our unique coastline, and we have got some key initiatives to implement sustainable measures to prevent the erosion of sand from local beaches. Climate change and sea level rise are an issue right across Auckland, and we really need a regional response. So one of our key initiatives is to advocate to the governing body for funding to address the impacts of climate change on our coast in advance of events happening. Our beaches are special, and we know that the community highly values them. We do have limited funding, so we really need a regional fund that can be tapped into on demand. One of the key things about the local board plan is that it feeds into the 10-year budget, which will be revisited next year. This is when we can try and get a regional fund for coastal issues. If this is important to you, we do need you to have your say and make a submission on this particular issue. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Chair John Spiller. So you can hear the message loud and clear from the session tonight. We're encouraging people to give their feedback to the draft Howick Local Board plan through the online website, akhaveyoursay.nz/Lovelocal. And the Howick Local Board Facebook page is a really good one to use. If you've only got a limited amount of time, you can use the hashtag Lovelocal on the Howick Local Board Facebook page and have your say. Or if you'd like to pick up a hard copy and write your submission, don't forget to go to your library or your service centre. So without any further ado, I think that it's time to close the session this evening. Thank you very much for being a part of it. Hope you will indeed have your say on the draft Howick Local Board plan. Pō Mārie and good evening.